Welcome back. Double week. If you want to be championship stock, if you want to win in Festivus time here in January against the Los Angeles Chargers of San Diego via Carson, soon to be in Inglewood, you need to go to Champions. This guy won Super Bowl 35. He won again later, but we tend to forget that around here, and we welcome him back on now in the fighting city of Denver, Colorado. He does sports radio as trained by moi. As a co-host at 104.3 The Fan in Denver, we welcome Brandon Stokley back on. He is B. Stokley14 out on Twitter, and getting through the whole Ragin' Cajun holiday here, man. Lamar Jackson running offense in the playoffs. Brandon Stokley, what do you say about all this, man?
I tell you what, he's fun to watch, and with their defense and with his athleticism, look, I mean, all you're asking him to do is to make those 5 or 6 throws a game, really, and you'll have a chance to win every week. I mean, we've seen it, right? 2000. If you got a great defense and you got a running game, you can go, you can travel, you can win on the road, you can win in tough conditions. And that's what the Ravens have. They're a scary football team. They're playing with a lot of confidence. You can tell they really love playing with Lamar Jackson. And he's fun to watch, and that team's fun to watch. So he's just going to have to make those 5 or 6 throws a game. And if he can do that, the Ravens are a scary football team.
Man, you work in Pop Warner football. You played high school football. Your dad was a legendary coach. You spent 15 years in a league. This is so unique that no one's really thought of doing it, right? Like the whole notion of the sustainability of this, how much you want your quarterback getting hit, what you want your quarterback to do, what the job description is, right? Like that Joe Flacco sitting on the bench right now, knowing he can read defenses better, knowing he can throw the ball significantly better, knowing that the wealth of experience that he has is significantly more impressive, and yet Lamar's playing because that's what the pace of this is dictated for its own defense as well as what it's done, which is keeping the Matt Ryans, the Phillip Rivers, the Patrick Mahomes off the field because this offense chews the clock and it takes plays away from the other team's offense.
I mean, absolutely. Look, is it sustainable? You know, is what he's doing, can he do it for the next 10 years? Probably not. But while he adjusts to the NFL game, while he learns to play the quarterback from the pocket and make these throws that he's going to need to make, well, you know what you do? You know what smart coaches do? They build an offense that suits him, that's going to help him. And that's what the Ravens have done. So hats off to them offensively for all of a sudden, you know, when Flacco gets hurt, hey, we can't try to make our quarterback a prototypical NFL pocket quarterback. What do we have to do to help him be successful? Well, we got to run a college style of an offense, and that's what they did. And some coaches and some teams don't want to do it. You look at the Broncos with Tim Tebow. That's what they did in the middle of the season when Tim Tebow took over for Kyle Larkin, and they kind of took off from there. So I don't think it's sustainable to continue to run him the way that they have been running him. But eventually you hope that he becomes more of a pocket quarterback where you can still sprinkle in some of those things, but he can be more of a prototypical pocket quarterback just for his health. You know, just for his health and his durability. But if you can have that type of offense that they've been running, look, defenses don't see it in the NFL very much. And he's a dynamic athlete, and so it's hard for defenses to figure out and to stop. So, but you got to give the Ravens coaching staff here a lot of credit.
Well, the other part of this is you're a wide receiver, dude. You want the ball. In this offense, you know, I mean, you would have been different because you would have been sneaky and crafty. You would have been one of those guys catching the third down passes or in on that package. But whole different thing with blocking for wide receivers, and certainly Michael Crabtree's not going to pad his stats here, nor is Snead or anybody else that signed to come here and have Joe Flacco flick it around 45 times a game, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you got to know, you know, what your team is, and you got to put your individual success aside and say, you know what, we got a chance to do something special here, and they really do, because nobody wants to play the Ravens.
Everybody says that. Nobody wants to play the Ravens, right?
Well, they don't, because they have a nasty defense that can flat out get after you, and when you have a great defense and you have a running game, I mean, you can go anywhere. You can go on the road. You can go in snow. You can go in, brutal conditions, wind. It doesn't matter. You can travel. And so that's why the Ravens are so scary. They have that defense, that nasty Baltimore defense that can get after you, and they can run the football. So nobody wants to play that type of team in January in the playoffs. So But for receivers, look, I mean, you got to know who you are. You got to know what your individual success now. It goes to the back burner. It's all about trying to win a championship, and you got a great chance to do that. So I'm sure those receivers know, and the coaches talk to them about it, and right now, it doesn't matter anyway. You're going to get a few opportunities. Just take advantage of the few opportunities when they come to you, because you can't run the ball every stinking time. You're going to have to throw the football, and so when you get your opportunities, take advantage of them.
Brandon Stokley is here, of course, Super Bowl 35 champion. You can find him on Denver Radio 104.3, The Fan in Denver, as well as out on Twitter at bstokely14. You shocked that this is working? I mean, even in the short term, over 7 or 8 weeks, or the small sample size, that when this change happened, I don't think anyone thought it could be this successful, even though it's so left-handed.
I mean, yeah, you're exactly right. But what did the Ravens coaching staff do? They didn't try to make him Joe Flacco, right? And so that's why
they already had the packages in for him, right? I mean, they were using him 15 or 20% of the time.
Well, they did have certain things in for him, where they did it, but they went all in. They just went all in with that style of an offense, and so you got to say kudos to them for not trying to make him somebody else that he wasn't, especially early in his career. Now, could he evolve to be that type of quarterback, more of a pocket quarterback? You certainly hope so. So you give the coaching staff credit for evolving and for saying, you know what, we're going to bend what we do, and we're not going to try to fit him into our system. So, I was watching that last game, Week 17 against the Browns, and man, I was so nervous. I'm telling you, I was so nervous, Nestor, and
we all were.
But I just did not want to see a repeat of last year. And I know all Ravens fans were thinking about it. I know you were thinking about it. And it came down to the wire there, and man, I couldn't watch. I had to go out of the room and because I was so nervous, but I was fired up. I was so happy for Ozzie and for Coach Harbaugh and all the fans there. It was so awesome the way that they finished it and won that to make it to the playoffs. And now look, I mean, hey, you're one of 6 in the AFC. You got a chance, so anything can happen.
I've been running this by a bunch of people smarter than me, and I mean, nobody studied the game as much as you, and sort of a student of the game, even through your father as Brian Billick would say, at the kitchen table when you were a kid. This whole notion of down and distance, right? Like, so I'm doing the baseball thing right now. I just read the book Astro Ball, which the Orioles have hired all these Houston Astros analytics guy, Sig Mejdal, who was a blackjack dealer in Tahoe. And he talked about blackjack and probability and how baseball is now based on the probability. What's the probability we're going to hit the ball that way? Let's shift everybody, right? With football, I think the only thing that's sort of the given, other than 4 balls, 3 strikes in baseball and 9 innings, would be down and distance. Like every single thing that happens. If I say to you, we're going to run a football play, you're going to say, well, what's my down and distance? That's the first thing I need to know my package, to know what kind of play I'm going to run. This team, Brandon, has been on 2nd and 3rd, 2nd and 4, 2nd and 2, so much that I almost don't recognize it. And I would think from an offensive coordinator standpoint, from the sheer blackjack side of can we convert 2nd and 2, 2nd and 3, 2nd and 4, I would think that from a probability standpoint, that's all day. And that means first down. And on first down, they are just chewing up yardage, chewing up the clock. And what it does to the actual game and shortening the game from a 3-hour made-for-television extravaganza to a 2-hour and 48-minute television extravaganza. And also, the amount of plays your defense now has to go and play when you've got Weddle and you've got a banged-up Jimmy Smith and a banged-up C.J. Mosley and Terrell Suggs, who you only want to use in certain situations anyway, and to sort of plug the run and play the pass. They're out there 45, 48, 52 plays a game. Boy, that's a far cry from having to play 80 snaps against Phillip Rivers.
It really is. If you went on first down, now you got the defense on their heels. And now you have control on second down. You can take a shot down the field if you want. You can continue to pound them. You can run a trick play. You have so much at your disposal if you're winning on first down.
Well, the only thing you're trying to do on 2nd and 4 is get another first down. Nobody's trying to go over the top here. They almost don't even want to do that to some degree, right?
But you do have that at your disposal, And I think in the playoffs you will have to try to take some shots to loosen teams up and just to let them know that you will go down the field and have some things sprinkled in like that. But you're absolutely right. When you can sustain drives and you can stay on the football field. It does wonders for your defense. Now they play a little bit better. Now they're fresher, and the opposing defense, what happens to them? You wear them out by the fourth quarter. They, no mas. They don't want anymore. And so, but I look at the Ravens, and I think when you run this style of an offense, you got to be more aggressive on fourth down. You got to take more chances on those 4th and 1, 4th and 2s, and almost take the approach like the Georgia Tech and those teams that run those wishbones. Hey, we're just trying to get 3 yards of popping on fourth down. We're going for it. So I hope they take that approach into the playoffs and become a little bit more aggressive on fourth downs. Not crazy aggressive, but you want to take that approach and be more aggressive because that's your style of football right now, and you have to know who you are and realize if you're going to run that offense. Yeah, I know they've been very successful on first down, but when you get those 4th and 1s, you go for them more now because that's your style of offense.
Brandon Stokley is here from Denver, Colorado, where he does sports radio out there. You can find him out on Twitter at bstokely14, as well as at 104 The Fan out in 104.3 The Fan out in Denver. For you with this tournament and these teams in the tournament and San Diego 2 weeks later, or L.A., whatever they're called this week, Carson, the Chargers also, having looked at film 15 weeks into the season, having had 5 or 6 weeks of Lamar to prepare for, having played it, is there a succinct advantage as you see it for the Chargers, having seen this once before 2 weeks ago, that will make it easier for them this week?
Certainly that helps, but you still got to go out there and stop it. You can watch it on film, but having played against them, only like you said a few weeks ago, that certainly will help the Chargers and knowing what the Ravens do well and knowing this guy's really special with the football in his hands. We got to make sure that he's faster than we thought he was. So that certainly will be to a little bit of an advantage for the Chargers, seeing that offense before and playing them only a couple weeks ago. That certainly will help. And I'm sure the Ravens, they'll adjust a little bit. They'll have some sprinkles in there also and do a few other things differently. So I think it's going to be another great football game, just like the one a couple weeks ago. And it should be a great one. And you're looking at what the Ravens are doing right now, and they take on, it just reminds me of the football teams that they've had since the start, since Ray was there and that defense and then Coach Harbaugh and his philosophy, me being there in 2013 and just knowing what he's all about. I love watching them play football, man. It's fun to watch that group play, and I can't wait to watch them in the playoffs.
So tell me this. I know, look, you live in the house that Peyton built. We're all aware of that. And you and Peyton are very, very close, right? Eric Weddle and Phillip Rivers had that sort of friendship, for all that time out there. And I really think that Weddle won the battle 2 weeks ago, the battle of the mind, the battle of where are you going to be, lots and lots of decoy stuff going on the defense, and Weddle wearing the helmet now and all that. Honestly, for you and having played with Peyton all that time, if you left Peyton the next year, do you have some distinct advantage of knowing what a quarterback, and you played in the offense, Weddle played on the defense,
right.
but there's a real relationship and a talking of football on the field, off season, in season, that's a friendship. I find it to be fascinating that if you wore the helmet and were the defensive coordinator, would you have an advantage in game planning against Peyton, knowing his brain a little bit more than maybe others would?
Well, I mean, not me, because he's a lot smarter than me, so he'd change a lot of things up. So, but I'm with you 100% on the Eric Weddle, Phillip Rivers, because Eric Weddle practiced against Phillip Rivers for, I don't know how long they played, 8-10 years together, for a long time, right? They were teammates, and so he knows Phillip Rivers. He knows what he likes to do. He knows what he doesn't like to see. He knows his strengths. He knows his weaknesses. So for a guy like that, I think that's huge. Certainly, it's a big deal, and certainly he knows a lot about Phillip Rivers, what he likes to do and what he doesn't like to do, and that goes a long way, not only for him, but when you're talking to Wink, the defensive coordinator, or the other guys, what pressures doesn't he like to see? That's huge, and so I think that is a big deal, especially with a football player like Eric Weddle and how good he's been. I think that is an advantage for the Ravens, the coaching staff, and that whole defense.
Wide open tournament, Brandon Stokley, and the Broncos aren't in. We'll get to them in a minute, but
they just missed it.
It really is a wild tournament and a wild week with 8 jobs open, all of that. And I had Randy Moss on earlier from NFL Network. He was actually here in case the Ravens lost because, like, all hell could have broken loose with Harbaugh, right? So, I mean, that's how intertwined all of this is. And I sense this energy and this newness and a lot of young guys. But there's still a Suggs, there's still a Yonda, there's still a Tucker, there's still a Flacco. There's some veteran guys around this team right now. Weddle as well, and Weddle hungrier than most of them because he hasn't won yet. But this tournament's wide open, especially on the AFC side. I'm sure Kansas City's a favorite, but it's not prohibitive, and I don't think anybody is afraid of going out there and slaying the Giant.
No, it is. It is wide open, and you look at Kansas City. They're not the same football team without Kareem Hunt. New England's New England. Look, they're down a little bit, but they got Tom Brady and company. They're always going to be tough. And Chargers, we've seen them this year. They were dynamic. So look, I mean, you're looking at the Indianapolis Colts right now with a great offensive line that can run the football. You got Andrew Luck, and their defense is playing a lot better. So. I mean, you're looking at football teams that any of them, you could tell me any of them could come out of the AFC and it wouldn't surprise me at all. It is completely wide open, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch and to follow and to kind of see how it all plays out.
I got a fun little story for you. So first off, we stream on Facebook Live and YouTube, and I rarely look. I can't watch the conversation and talk to you. But I just looked down and I saw it, and Pete has said, "Hey Ness, Brandon Stokley got our first TD in Super Bowl 35. He doesn't realize that I walked up to you at the media day and told you were going to catch the first one, right? You remember that, but he doesn't remember that,
right? Of
course. This time of year, this is the time when you get a little antsy. Right, you got the kids in the mommy mobile and daddy mobile, and you're running around Cherry Creek out there and doing radio. This is the time when you want to put the chin strap. This is when you miss football, isn't it?
No, not really. Not really. I'm done, man. I'll tell you. But
that nervousness you had, you talked about the other day, that's a player nervousness, right?
Yeah, no, look, yeah, it is. I love it. I still love it. I mean, I wish I could go back out there, but I know my time is up. And I got as much out of it as I could. And I miss the guys. I miss the locker room. That's what you miss the most. I don't miss waking up on Monday morning, hardly being able to walk. But certainly this is the time. This is the time that you live for, and it's a special time of year. It's playoff football, and it's win or go home. It's one game, and if you don't bring your A game, you're going home. And so it's not. You don't have a 7-game series like in these other sports where we had an off night. Let's go get them tomorrow, guys. No. You have an off night, you know what? You're going to, 1, 2, 3 Cancun, right? I mean, you're done. Your season's over. So there is no off nights in football during the playoffs because your season's over. That's what makes it so compelling, and that's what makes it so much fun to watch.
18 years later, week 1, we got the Chargers coming in just the same way we had the Broncos many, many years ago. The weather will be a little bit better here this week. At least I hope it is. Dude, always a pleasure to see you, catch up with you. I'm thinking you might be in Atlanta. If you're coming to the Super Bowl in a couple weeks, we'll reconvene and get together again. And maybe there'll be a Lamar Jackson motif 5 stories high in Atlanta at a Purple Bird.
Well, I can't wait to watch the Ravens. I'm pulling for them. But I'll tell you this, there's a lot of speculation about John Harbaugh and his job and his, what's going to happen with him. And if he gets out of Baltimore, he's going to be a hot commodity. And I know because, right now the Broncos are looking for a coach, and I know he would be at the top of their list, as would a lot of other teams would be John Harbaugh.
Well, if he's not going to sign here for 5 years, give us a first and a third, and you'll have to do business. I don't know what else to say. You know what I mean?
I know. Hey, you can get something for him. That's for sure. Broncos are in no spot to be trading away draft picks right now. So that probably would not be for the Broncos, but I'm pulling for the Ravens. What a way to go out for Ozzie and company there, for Ozzie and what he's meant to Baltimore and that organization. And I'm happy for Coach Harbaugh. I had a blast there in 2013 with him and Steve Bisciotti. Look, I mean, it's just great. Like I told you when we started this, it's a great organization, great fans, and I can't wait to see the Ravens in the playoffs.
And Brandon Stokley, he has like that Sports Illustrated cover where east of the Mississippi, or east of Indianapolis, when you pull up his Twitter, it has the Ravens picture. But I'm sure if I pull it up in Indianapolis, your picture there will be with the Colts.
It's the Ravens one, man.
Dude,
it is the Ravens one.
It is the Ravens
no matter
one.
Where you are,
it is the
Ravens one. That is one of my the highlights of my life right there, man. After that game, my wife was with me, and just the confetti was falling, and it's just like, wow, I can't believe it. We just won the Super Bowl. So, yep, I love that picture.
You even got a hug from me that night before it was all over.
That's
You and the whole family. Hey, dude, take care of yourself. Hopefully I see you in the winter circle in a couple weeks in Atlanta. If not, we'll get together in Denver sometime soon. And even if your football team stinks, you still got Red Rocks, you got the Rocky Mountains. There's plenty to recommend your good life out there in Denver, Colorado.
All right, buddy. Thanks for having me, Nestor. I appreciate you, buddy.
See you, Stokes. B. Stokely 1-4. The way to follow the great Brandon Stokley, also 104.3, The Fan in Denver. And it is true. He does have his Ravens. He has the video camera, that the same one that Mike Flynn shot the video in the parade that he lost that I've never gotten a hold of. Maybe Stokely shot some video in the parade. Maybe I could hit him up for that. I think he was near me in the parade. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Luke is on the backfields in Owings Mills getting ready for all things Festivus this week. We got the Chargers and the Ravens at 1 on Sunday. I'll be out on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Snapchat and Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook Live, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. It's 2019. We're still doing it the same way, better than anybody, out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault, as well as our morning newspaper. It shifts to your email inbox each and every morning at 7 a.m. It is all brought to you by our friends at Planet Fitness at planetfitness.com, where they remind you it is a perfect time to get in shape, get in the best shape of your life. Get the Planet Fitness, $5 down, $10 a month. It's purple, and there's one right around the corner from you. Also brought to you by the Maryland Jockey Club and Laurel Park. They're racing down there this week. You can get the entries at the front of WNST.net, and you can also get them in our aforementioned morning newspaper by signing up at WNST.net. Also, last but never least, any breaking news happens first on your WNST text service. That's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And Dennis Kolatzos will be here from 3 until 5 on Thursday with the SSV on WNST, getting you ready for said football game. Been a little while since we played a game of this magnitude here in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST, Taos of Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.